Today's video is sponsored by BetterHelp.com, and I've been with them for a long time. BetterHelp is an online platform where we found that you can effectively communicate with your therapist. Now, you begin by filling out a questionnaire, and then you'll be matched with a therapist within a couple of days. And if that match isn't ideal for you, you can certainly make an adjustment there. Now, you're going to be encouraged to journal, and also they have the availability for group therapy on a wide array of topics, and I really like that. So as the need exists, go ahead and take the necessary steps to get the help that you need. And just know that BetterHelp has a 4.5 rating on Trustpilot, so it indeed is a platform you can trust. There's a link below the video that will take you there. Hey, Team Healthy. Gus and I welcome you to another episode of Unbound. This is where I take the questions that you send in to me, and it allows me to kind of get to know some of the very particular circumstances you're dealing with, and I'm going to respond to it and see if we can make some sense of that. Today we're going to be talking about family scenarios where you have one or several people within the family system that are just very, very difficult to get along with. And it puts you in a position of thinking, well, what am I going to do? I don't want to just completely walk away, but at the same time, what I have in front of me is not very workable either. How are we going to manage that? And in the two illustrations that I have here, they represent very different ends of the spectrum. One, we have the adult parent trying to figure out what to do with the adult children. The other, we have the adult children trying to figure out what to do with the toxic parents. And so this ought to be presenting an interesting kind of presentation that we have here today. Now, the first person writes in and says, I have 3 adult children. The youngest is 38. Who all have children of their own. So I guess at holiday times, you got a pretty full house there. I love them deeply. However, their behavior toward me can be very hurtful. We can't have normal conversations. They share nothing of their lives with me. They show no care or regard toward me. And I know this person just feels broken as she's writing this. I hear from them when there's something they need. The bright spot is that I love my grandchildren deeply and I enjoy the time that I'm able to have with them. And there's absolutely nothing more wonderful than something like that. All 3 of my grown kids are this way. Is it common to have each of your children against you? I've read everything I can on alienation, and I don't know if that's the case or if they themselves are narcissistic. How can this be in all of them? Now, there's some elements here that we obviously don't quite know yet. You didn't mention anything about your husband, and are you divorced, or is the husband somebody that's difficult, or is he siding with them? We don't know what that influence is. But one of the things that this illustrates is that when you have a love for someone, and particularly when they're the gatekeeper of someone as important as your own grandchildren, sometimes love means that you know their faults and their frailties, and you have to come to terms with them and find a type of acceptance nonetheless. You know, one of the biggest issues that I have here is that, and I would have in my counseling office, many times the person who's asking the question, or many times the person who's seeking the therapy, is the one that already has the intuitive, the inquisitive mindset, and therefore they have a stronger mindset that they can draw upon so that they can approach the situation in a more therapeutic kind of way. And I'm guessing that's what we have going on here with the family. And many times you can say, well, you know, we all share the same or very similar DNA. Why is it that I can try to be kind and friendly and helpful, and I want to be understanding and tuned in, but the others are more self-absorbed or more controlling or non-empathetic or argumentative? What do you do in a case like that? And there's where we see that there are other ingredients in play beyond just genetics or DNA that make family members quite distinct. Now, I'm going to throw a word at you. Some of you know this word. Some of you this may be a new one. It's called epigenetics. When we talk about your genetics give you a predisposition towards certain ingredients and characteristics. But then you put that prefix epi on there. Think of an epilogue in the book. It's the final statement that you have. The epigenetics means there's something beyond or behind the genetics. In other words, you have a certain disposition, but then other kinds of influences can come along and change the way a person looks at things, whether it's their peer group or the kind of career they've chosen, or there may be some injuries that are there, or some traumatic experiences, or just an encouragement from other sources towards selfishness. I mean, who knows what the possibilities would be. And so whenever you're the parent and you look at your three kids like this, and they didn't turn out as friendly as I want, it's easy to just lay that at the feet of the parent and say, well, you must have done something. When in fact, typically, when you're in the position like I am, where you hear so many stories, the answer is a multitude of issues are in play. And so rather than, I would say to this mother who's got the adult children who are not all that tuned in, rather than kicking yourself and blaming yourself, remind yourself there are other aspects here that you can't do anything about, and they're proving that you're limited with respect to how controlling you can be, because you just can't control someone's attitudes. In fact, if you do, it probably makes it worse. So let me put it to you on a numbers continuum. Let's suppose, I'm speaking to this mother, let's suppose that you're all the way up at the 95 percentile level saying, I really feel like I know how to love, and being an encouraging presence. And then you look at the three kids, the adult kids, and it's like, well, they're down and around the 25% level or the 30% level. And it's like, come on, we can do better than this. And at some point, you want to just take a hard look at the facts and say, but that's where they are. And so what you do is you minimize. You take your 95% capacity and set some of it aside, realize, well, if I'm going to be at a 30% level with them, then that's what we're going to do. And so it may be that you'll have to stay more functional with them, and you want to just stay away from any kind of controversial kind of questions. You don't want to get into personal matters. I'm not saying that's the desired thing, but if that's what truth and reality shows that they're capable of doing, then you stay with where they are. One of the ingredients of a healthy person is they can ascertain, we refer to this as your empathy, where that other person is, and you can adjust in a according kind of way to that. Given the fact that they're the gateway to your grandkids, then obviously that's something you're going to want to do. And I'm hoping that as you engage with your grandchildren in a very calm and steady kind of way, you can emphasize to them the importance of family connections and love and kindness and service and helpfulness and all like that, and teach them some of the things that you want them to know, but without sabotaging their parents. So, in other words, understand it's not all about you. Flow with what you can. Now, this second one is one of the more common ones that I get. And this is the flip-flop. This person says, I'm guessing many who have controlling, toxic parents have that internal conflict with standing up and being yourself, along with the age-old commandment, honor thy father and thy mother. If the parents' behaviors are high on the abusive spectrum, then maybe it's time to create some distance. What do you think? So here we have adult children, and they look at mom and dad, and it's like, they're not healthy. And it's interesting that there are times when, like in that first situation, where you've got I'm assuming a very healthy parent, and the parent and the kids can't come up to that level. In this one, you have unhealthy parents, and the adult kid has surpassed the parents. Go figure how that works. And again, epigenetics and all sorts of other influences there. First, when you ask, what do I think about, curtailing some of your time with that person who's very toxic, sometimes the answer is that's the only thing you can do. We have a word for that. You're very familiar with it. It's the word boundaries. And boundaries means I get to define who I'm going to be. And if I'm in the presence of people who do not fit inside the boundaries or the definition of that I have, then I'm going to adjust my expectations and behaviors and priorities accordingly. And when we're talking about toxic, that's a pretty strong word to use. What we're talking about basically is Individuals who are grossly insensitive. It's all about me, no empathy, high control. Typically, there's a lot of criticism and there's a lot of destructive kind of communication. So when you say, do you think it's reasonable to have boundaries? I'm thinking it would be unreasonable not to have boundaries. It would be unreasonable for you to say, well, I'm going to go ahead and see dear old mother or dear old dad and just get my face slapped all over again and then walk away and have my hurt feelings and then go back the next time and let it happen all over again. No, that's not love. It's not love for yourself. It's certainly not love for them to say, yeah, let's keep playing this destructive game. And so there are, in fact, times when you, as the generation behind the toxic people, will say, you know, I can do better, and I can take the family reputation into a much better space. And then you want to say to the parents, please join me, and they can't do it. Then in the same kind of vein with that first one, you ascertain, well, what can I do with these people? And it may be functional only, and it may be in very small episodes of time, and then you go on and you move, you give your efforts toward other individuals who know what to do with the healthy characteristics that you have. So how do you love? And it really does come down to intent. How do you love somebody who presents themselves in very unlovable kind of ways? You ascertain where they are, and as you're capable or as you're willing, you can go to their level. And by that, I mean, keep it minimal, adjust your expectations, no further than where they're able to go. And then beyond that, you have some separateness. And you distinguish yourself as somebody that says, well, I do know what healthy living looks like. I'm going to commit myself to it. If the family member can go along with me, I'll be happy. And if they can't, I'm not doing them nor myself any favors by trying to force something to be something that it's not. So it's difficult when you're the kind of person that says, well, I want to be loving. But, you know, sometimes the loving person is the one that has to pay the highest price. I wrote an article, I've mentioned this before years ago. High awareness comes with a price. And when you have an awareness of what's good and healthy, sometimes the price is the agony that you can sometimes feel when another person does not want to receive the good that you have to offer. But be glad for yourself that you're able to be that kind of person. And even in some of your frustration with them, you can find some things to be content about, thinking, well, I know that I've got the right ingredients and I can be glad on that. As I'm able, I'll share it. And then when I'm not, then I'm going to look for other individuals that I can connect with who know what to do with the good that I bring. I hope this kind of gives you some clarity about what you might be dealing with. If you haven't already hit that subscribe button, I would encourage you to do so. And if you have some questions, go ahead and send them in, and we'll continue in our efforts here on the Unbound series to speak into those kind of things. Now, you know that I'm an enormous proponent of psychotherapy. Obviously, I spent 40 plus years in the therapist office. I'm a huge believer in it. I've seen so many lives changed. If you have a need for therapy, then I would encourage you to do so and help yourself. We have a sponsor, the folks at BetterHelp.com. It's an online therapy resource, and if that's a direction you would like to go, we have a link below that will take you to their website, answer a few questions, and then you can pick a therapist, and I would hope that you'd be able to find somebody that can sift all this out with you. Now, in addition, I would invite you to go to my website. I have a deep history of presenting seminars and workshops, and I have 4 courses to that effect. Each one has at least 25 teaching videos and handouts and guided questions. You can work it on your own pace. We have it on anger management called Anger Games. We have one on those boundaries I'm talking about. This is me. Those are my 2 favorites, by the way. Then we have Ready, Set, Connect about having healthy connections, free to be finding yourself despite the controllers. And then in addition, we have my 90-minute webinars, which are PowerPoint presentations, along with a whole lot of articles, my books, so lots of resources. In each case, you have a situation where it's like, well, somebody that I want to be closely connected to, and I think that I would be able to do it well, doesn't know how to reciprocate. in your assertion, you determine what they're capable of, and you match pitch up to where they're able to go. And if it becomes too damaging, then you pull back and you take care of yourself, practice self-care and boundaries. And then in the rest of the time, you seek folks that know how to reciprocate some of what you are, because you don't want to just be out there all on an island by yourself. I'm hoping you can find good support.